You're listening to another outstanding edition of the Stronger Marriage Podcast with your hosts, Trey and Lee Morgan.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday afternoon here in Childress, Texas. A little cool and cloudy today after getting some much-needed rain.
Yeah, it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
We're tired of winter. We're ready for some spring, but we'll take rain anytime we can get it.
That's exactly right.
In Texas, where we live, rain is a valuable commodity.
Yes.
Valuable commodity. So
Today we are talking about things your kids need to see in marriage, right?
that is exactly what we're talking about, and exactly what we need to discuss. And if I can get everything running on our end with all our equipment.
Having some technical difficulties.
I am, yes. Most folks know that we mentioned last week we're doing a kitchen project.
Oh, the kitchen.
Yes. What do you suppose are the three most stressful events for married people? Do you have a guess? I talked to a friend of ours by the name of Amy Bowman this morning, and she said the three most stressful events in the lives of married people are you ready for this? Got any guesses?
Am I supposed to guess?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm guessing remodels.
Remodels is up there.
Okay.
So remodels is a top three stressful event for married couples.
Okay, I'm gonna guess making a move.
Making a move, yes, that was one of the top three as well. And
Okay.
then
And having a baby.
having
would
a baby.
be,
Those are the
I'm
three
sure.
top things. So we're not moving. We're not having a baby.
Yes,
I don't
thank
think,
you.
are we?
Thank you, Lord.
Yes. We've almost got the last one at the house, and so starting over is just fearful. What would you think about that if that happened?
I would cry lots of tears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we would love that child, but we would
Of course.
we would cry.
After I cried lots of tears.
Okay.
I would love that child.
But we are remodeling a kitchen, and it has been stressful. Do you feel like we've been patient with one another?
I think 99% of the time we've been patient with each other.
I would have probably said 95,
Oh, shoot.
but probably 98 would be
Okay,
that would be good.
we'll meet in the middle.
So yes, working with your spouse on a home remodel project, and we're not like we haven't hired this out. We're doing everything ourselves, and so because you and I are very different people, we work very differently.
Yes.
You're very meticulous. You are very much a perfectionist. You are a thinker. You think everything through. And I'm not any of those three things.
No, you're not. You're not.
I am a
Let's just do this and
let's
get this
get
done.
this done. It will look good when we're done. And
And every time I bring up an idea, it's like, well, we're miles away from that. When we might only be like 2 days from that, but to you, that's miles away.
I'm trying to finish one project, and you're coming up with like more for me.
You gotta be prepared.
You're killing me.
You
You're
gotta think
killing
in
me.
advance.
One of my favorite quotes, and I don't even remember where it came from. You one time you were trying to slow me down, and you said something like, "Honey, Rome was not built in a day," and my response was, "That's just because I wasn't there." I want to get it done, but it is coming along nice. If
It
you follow us
is.
on Instagram, we have been posting little videos of projects. We have replaced sheetrock on one side, removed some cabinets, and finished our countertops.
Yes.
And I'm about to start doing some subway tile. We've done.
Our friend, who is an excellent electrician, is there today, so we are getting all new lighting, and some of it was in before I left the house, and it looked fantastic.
We're excited.
Yeah.
We've lived in a house that's needed some updating, and
Just needs a little love.
so that's what we're doing. That is what we're doing, and so that has been a fun thing for now. We're headed to Nebraska this week, and we're excited about that because Nebraska is we've never been there for a workshop, so we're headed that direction, going to Ogallala, Nebraska.
Ogallala.
We're excited about it. We're going to be there on Saturday, all-day workshop, and stay over Sunday and come home. It's a long drive. There was no airports anywhere near, so we're driving this. And I'm excited about the drive. I'll have Miss Morgan locked in the car with me for 9 hours on one way and 9 hours the other way. So I bet at some point I will probably annoy you just a little bit.
Oh, not intentionally, of course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, people are so confused about why we drive. But the thing about us is living in Childress, we are We are 3.5 hours from the closest major airport. And we are about 2 hours from Amarillo, Lubbock, but they're going to just fly us to DFW. So we usually just choose to go ahead and fly out of DFW when we're flying because it just saves a little time actually. So by the time we drive 3.5 hours to DFW and catch a flight to the nearest airport to Ogallala, we were still going to have a 2 to 2.5 hour drive once we got there.
No, it's like three and a half hours from an airport from Denver.
We were still going to be driving, 6 to 7 hours this trip, and then it just didn't make any sense to fly. So it's okay.
None whatsoever.
It's okay. We're gonna drive it. We're gonna see some country that we've never seen before.
Yep, we're excited about it. Never been to that area, so it'll be good.
Yeah.
Now, you said we're talking today about kids.
Yeah, things that kids need to see in marriage.
Why is that even important? What do kids have to do with marriage?
Well, kids, they get security from seeing a healthy marriage modeled. For one, we're going to talk about that, I think.
Okay.
They're learning how to do marriage. They may be, as you like to say, miles away from marriage, but they're learning how to do marriage from watching their parents. And it's essential that you're setting good, healthy, positive examples for your children so that when they are married someday, they're also going to have healthy marriages themselves.
So they're learning what they're seeing from
Absolutely.
their parents.
They're going to, more than likely, they are going to imitate exactly what they're learning from their parents once they get married.
Yeah. So it's really important that we model a healthy marriage to our kids and to our grandkids. If you're out there and you're going, my kids are out of the house and all I have are grandkids, they need to see a healthy marriage from their grandparents.
Yeah.
Your ability to model a healthy marriage can change not just a generation, but generations. You can break a generational cycle that's not healthy in helping build kids with strong marriages and grandkids with strong marriages.
That's true. And even in your community, I know there are marriages out there that we look up to that we always have, just maybe people that we've gone to church with or whatever, people that have modeled healthy marriages for us that weren't, our parents did. Both sets of our parents modeled healthy marriages, but there were plenty of people that we surrounded ourselves with that also modeled healthy marriages for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about some things that kids need to see in marriage from us and what's important about it. And so I think we would both agree that our kids need to see us not just as mom and dad, but they need to see us as husband and wife. And that's really important that they, we're more than just mom and dad. We're also a husband and wife. And that's really where this plays out, is because kids need to see that we're more than just a mom and dad. We're also a husband and wife. And so they need to see things like, say, how about having fun together?
Oh, yeah. Best friends have fun together. And essentially that's what we want our marriages to be is, we want to be best friends with each other. And best friends are doing things together that are fun.
Spending time together.
Laughing together.
Yeah, taking a trip. When's the last time you guys listening have taken a trip, an overnight trip together somewhere just as husband and wife, found a place for the kids, and the kids are going to gripe. They're going to complain. They're going to go, oh, why don't we get to go on this trip? And you remind them, because we're a husband and a wife and we need time together.
Mm-hmm. It's okay for kids to know that the world and your marriage does not revolve solely around them, contrary to what they might like to think.
Boom.
Yeah, life happened before they came around, and life will continue after they leave home. And so,
and can I throw this out there? I think this is good. We're not saying neglect your children in any form or fashion.
No.
There's nobody saying put your kids in the bathroom with some paper down and throw some food in there and come back on Monday. Nobody's saying that. We're just saying your kids need to see you as a husband and a wife and not just as a mom and dad. And it is healthy for them to see you going off on dates and having some fun together and doing some things along those lines.
I agree.
And so dating is healthy. A weekend trip somewhere is healthy. These are all areas that they need to see you. One of the things, we mention this, I'm pretty sure we mention this because we do so many workshops, and we're currently teaching a class in our community on families that has a lot of marriage stuff in it. And so sometimes I forget what we've talked about where.
Yes.
And so we may have mentioned this, but it's really important to mention it again in case we haven't. The divorce rate actually takes a little spike and increase at around 22 to 24 years of marriage for couples, meaning for a long time people have said, now why is there an increase in the divorce rate right there when somebody hits the 22, 24 year range? And people for a long time wasn't quite sure what that was, and that's empty nest. It's when the last kid leaves the home, and mom and dad have if they've spent no time together being husband and wife, and they've just been mom and dad for 20-something years, and all of a sudden you have empty nest, you also have empty marriage, and that's not healthy.
For us, it's going to be 32 years. We will have been married 32 years when we finally have an empty nest.
Wow, I don't even know what to think about that.
We kind of drug this child rearing thing out just a little bit, but
That's
that's
right.
okay. That's okay.
What's something else that our kids need to see from us as a husband and a wife? What do we need to model to them?
Okay, dating. You kind of mentioned that briefly, so we're going on.
Yeah.
Being affectionate, I think, is very important.
So like grossing your kids out?
Gross your kids out. That is your goal. Yeah. It's okay for them to come in the room. Oh, gross.
Get a room.
Yeah.
Something like that. They need to see you being affectionate because, again, you're more than mom and dad, your husband and wife. I don't know about you and your family, but I know that I saw my mom and dad being affectionate quite often growing up. And while it was really kind of weird, it was also really healthy to know that they could sit on one another's lap and hold hands or kiss or something along those lines, that they liked each other.
Yes, and it did make me feel secure when I saw mom and dad that way, because it was like they love each other, and I know I had no doubt they were always going to be married.
Yeah.
In my mind, it gave me security.
Never thought twice about that.
No.
But yeah, being affectionate is a healthy thing to do. I'll throw one out there. How about praising one another, which is a very healthy thing to do. Praising. We talk about praising your kids, but we're talking praising your spouse in front of your kids.
Oh yeah. With this kitchen remodel, it's good for Cooper to hear me say how good you are at being able to do those kinds of things, that we are able to do this ourselves because you know how to tile and you know how to sheetrock and drywall and all these things that you're able to do. It's good for him to hear me bragging on you.
Yeah, and I try hard, but it's easy for me to do. But I try to do it often around my kids, to talk about what a great mama you are and what a great cook you are, and just down the list. To brag on your spouse in front of your kids is a very healthy thing to do. For them to go, my dad obviously really loves my mom, or my mom really loves my dad, because I hear them talk about it so much. That's just, boy, you model that in front of your kids, and you will actually bless your kids. You put your spouse, let me rephrase this. You put your marriage first, and it will bless both your marriage and your kids. If you put your kids first and center your world around your kids, it will hurt your kids and it will hurt your marriage as well.
Yeah, and we say that all the time, and sadly there are people that just flat don't agree with that philosophy, but we stand by it. We do stand by it.
And that is true. Besides praising one another, can you think of something else? Maybe something that our kids have watched us do recently when we're remodeling the kitchen.
When we are not being patient with each other.
That's it.
Yeah,
we're working through a problem.
They need to see you working through problems. They need to know that you do have problems.
We're not perfect.
It's not like you have to air all the dirty laundry in front of the kids, but they need to see that you're not perfect and that you do work through your problems.
That we don't see eye to eye on everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even though we don't see eye to eye on everything, we still love each other. We value one another's opinion, and we're going to work through whatever it is. That we're not going to lose control. We're not throwing things and screaming at one another. We can work through a problem, and they're learning how to work through their problems in the future by watching how we're working through a problem now.
Yeah. I can remember you talking about your mom and dad going for walks when they had stuff come up that they needed to talk about and work through. And I'm not sure you were aware at the time that all those walks meant they were, having to work stuff out. But but I think that's okay, you know, for you to say, hey, we're going to go on a walk because there's just something that we need to hash out. And
Yeah.
I think that's okay for your
Yep.
kids to see that. They need to see you, you know, working through problems.
One of the funnest things I did was ask my dad one time questions like, "Did y'all ever disagree? And how did you figure out how to work on this?" And he filled me in on a lot of details that I look back now and I go, I kind of remember that. And one of those was, when y'all disagreed on something, what'd you do? Well, we went for a walk. And I said, man, y'all went for a lot of walks when you first got me. But that's just how it worked. Okay, so we're talking about being a husband and wife in front of our kids. One of the really important things, and this is kind of a family topic, and we're going to do some family topics coming up in some podcasts, but one of the things we need to do in front of our kids is to practice what we preach. And that just simply means that you cannot tell your kids one thing and then you as a husband and wife do something different.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can't have double standards, for sure. If you tell your kids, if somebody's at the door and you say, hey, tell them I'm not home, I don't want to talk to them. You just told them we lie in this house after maybe you've preached, hey, we don't lie in this house. But you pull something like that, and all you're doing really is saying, yeah, it's okay to tell little lies every once in a while. So yeah, practice what you preach. If you're gonna preach honesty, then you be honest in every area.
If you're gonna tell your kids don't lose control and don't lose your temper, you can't be losing your temper. And you just go down the list from all of those things, that those are important that you show those things. One of the things that we try, and if you followed us on social media or on this podcast long enough to know, you'll know, if you've read our book, one of the things that we take very serious is our faith. One of the most important chapters, I think, in our book, 10 Ways to a Stronger Marriage, was our last chapter where we talked about spiritual intimacy in our marriage and how important that is, that it draws us together more than just sexual intimacy, more than emotional and even verbal, where we just communicate. There is some spiritual intimacy that is amazing. And I want to set a good example to my kids and someday to my grandkids, if I ever get any of those, that my faith is really important, that mine and your faith is important. And I want them to see us praying together or reading our Bible, that worship is important, that spending time together in our relationship with God is something that's important to us.
Yeah, that is very important to model. And if you model that to your kids, they're gonna put those same things into practice when they're adults. Hopefully, that's the goal. We just reminded me Sunday of the picture that our oldest sent to us Sunday morning.
Our oldest son is 30.
Yeah, all our kids live in Lubbock, kind of the same area of town, except for Cooper, who's our youngest, and he's headed there next year to go to college. But he was visiting this last weekend, so they were all together. And our oldest, Taylor, took a little selfie, I guess, during church of their whole whole row during church. They were all lined up there sitting together and were in worship together, which made Mom and Dad extremely happy.
Oh my goodness, yes. When you see your 4 sons and your 2 daughter-in-laws, and they're all in worship or at church together, that just, I told one of my sons later that picture right there was the highlight of my week, because that's what we have tried hard to set an example, is to show them that that's an important thing in our life, and we want it to be an important thing in their life. That is a good point, Miss Morgan. Good point. Let's talk about one more, and we're actually going to spend a little bit of time on this, and this is pretty important. We want our kids to see that we treat one another with love and respect. That tenderness, gentleness, kindness, respect, love is what we strive for in treating one another. That we call each other honey or sweetheart or darling or whatever it is phrase you want to use, and not dummy and clod and knothead, and you just go down the list. That we honor one another and speak kind to one another. That doesn't mean we don't get frustrated with one another, but that I have tried to raise, we've got 4 boys, and I've tried to raise 4 boys that honor and love and are gentle and tender with their mother. Maybe it's because they were 4 boys, and we've started at a young age. I did telling our boys, if one of them would kind of pop up or take a tone or get a little bit mouthy with their mama, my phrase always was, and they can actually quote this. I said it so many times. No, sir, you will not talk to her that way. We brought you into this world, and we can take you out of this world, and we can definitely create another one just like you and replace you. And we won't even miss you, And of course, they knew that was all in good fun and play, but they also understood that I wasn't going to put up with them being unkind or mouthy to their mother, because I wasn't going to treat her that way.
Disrespectful.
And I've raised 4 boys who love their mama, and that makes me as happy as anything. Probably right after the selfie in church thing is the fact that they love their mama like that and would do anything for their mom. And that just makes me really, really happy. To the point that my oldest, we tell this in our workshop in much more detail, but our oldest son was an Army Ranger, Special Operations. He was a bad dude in the military, doing night missions in Afghanistan. And when we would have him home, either pre or post deployment, we would have him for a little bit of time. And if any of you guys are listening out there and have had family members deployed, you understand this completely. You want to keep your child or your spouse until the last second. You don't ever want to drop them off at the airport an hour early. It's like you dump them because you want to spend as much time as possible. Dump them the second that they have to run to the airport and jump on a plane. And we were dropping him off before he headed out on a deployment where we weren't going to be able to see him or talk to him for a while. And all of a sudden, we realized we had more time than we thought. And so we stopped at a little store, and we're walking around talking and visiting. I was still trying to get him to an airport on time. And I leaned over and told y'all we got about 15 minutes, and we got about 10 minutes, and we got about 5 minutes. And I don't know if you remember all of the details on this, but we got to the point where I was looking at my watch thinking we need to be leaving right now. And y'all were still visiting, you and Taylor. And about 5 minutes after I thought we needed to leave, y'all were still visiting. In about 10 minutes, I couldn't get y'all to move. I kind of took a tone with you and was a little disrespectful about, it is time to go, we need to go. And the Army kid across the aisle looked at his father and said, we will not talk to her that way. And I remember thinking what respect I had for him in the fact that he was willing to tell his own father, we're not going to talk to Mom.
You taught him well.
I taught him well. I don't know if he could have, he definitely could have took me out of this world, but I don't think he could have created another one and brought me in. But anyway, I appreciated the fact that he took up for his mama even with his daddy, and that's how it's supposed to be. And that is really, really important. Your spouse.
Your spouse shouldn't be the butt of your jokes. Really, don't ever make jokes like, I don't know, what a terrible cook your wife is, or, I don't know, dad can't do anything right, or those kind of things.
Whether it's around your kids or around your buddies, if you're going to be respectful for your spouse, that needs to happen in everywhere. Be your spouse's biggest fan. That is what is really supposed to happen. You feel like, you believe to yourself. Good marriages are built on the fact that when you feel like you got a better deal out of this, and it keeps you from taking your spouse for granted. I always think, man, I definitely married up. I got the better deal. It keeps me from taking my spouse for granted. And that's just called treating one another with love and respect. And it's about all those little things and little stuff that you do. And that's really, really important.
It's important. Kids should see you serving each other in marriage. I'm the bed maker in the family. You could care less if the bed's made because you think we're just going to get right back into it. Why should we make the bed, right?
Well, that's a whole other podcast, isn't it?
I like the bed to look nice and pretty, and it's just so much better to get into at night when it's all the covers are where they're supposed to be.
Weird bed making people out there.
Yeah, but even though you don't care if the bed's made, no, you don't do it every morning, but when you do, every once in a while, you go in there and you make the bed without me knowing that you're making the bed. And usually you just, leave for the day, and I'll make my way.
I put all,
All
72 pillows up
No,
where they go.
there's not that many.
I know there's
Just
not.
feels
It just
like
feels
it when
like
you're having to make
72.
the bed. Yeah, but I'll walk into the room a little bit later and think, oh, he loves me. He made the bed.
There you
So,
go. And you bring
yeah.
me coffee, and there's so many things you do for me that's sweet that I appreciate very much. And it is. And when our kids see us doing things like that, that just reminds them what's important. You know, one of the things that I love the most, and maybe we can kind of wind down with that story. One of the things I love the most about teaching kids and modeling marriage was, you know, when we hit our 20th, we were getting ready to go on a big, a nice trip. We've always tried on our 10th and 20th and 30th to take a big trip to celebrate our anniversary. And we were going to Boston. And I remember I wanted to do more than just go on a trip. I wanted to do something to show you that I loved you. And I remember coming in and telling you, I had actually researched things to make your wife feel special that you could do. And a lot of those things I was already doing, and a lot of things that they had said, you know, that I'd Google, I thought was kind of goofy. But I did find one that I thought, that's pretty good. I could do that. And that was opening the car door for your wife. That's kind of a past generation thing. We don't do a lot of that anymore, where you open the car door for your wife. And I thought, you know, I'm going to start doing that. That'd be kind of fun. And I remember telling you that I was going to need your help because, you know, you don't not do something 20 years and all of a sudden just start. So you did a good job. Every now and then I'd forget and you would remind me. And I have got over the past 12 years, we're pushing 12 years now of me opening car doors for you, that I've gotten a pretty good open car door for you. And I like that. It does make you feel special. But, you know, I didn't realize how cool it was until a few years ago when you and I got to noticing that anytime we went somewhere as a family, that I rarely got to open the car door for you when we were out with the boys, because one of the boys would always beat me to your door. And I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
They had just watched Dad do that so many times that all they knew was somebody is supposed to open the car door for Mom. And I'd go around to get it, and one of them would have already got it. And I love that I had taught them something, honestly, about how to treat their future wife. And there will come a time when I'll have a daughter-in-law that's going to say something along the lines of, hey, did you know your son opens the car door for me everywhere? And I'm gonna be so excited about that because I've taught them that, you know.
You taught him.
That's
Hey,
a good thing.
I get a little tickled at you and Cooper. You know, I remember not too long ago we came out of a restaurant and I was a couple of steps behind y'all. And I could see y'all cutting your eyes over at each other. And it was like you just both started walking a little faster. It's like, I'm going to get there first. I'm going to beat you to it.
Yeah, because he's always good about getting your door.
It's kind of become a game.
And I kind of thought, I'm not going to let him get it. I'm going to beat him to it. No, he's faster than I
Who
am.
can get there first?
18-year-olds can always outrun their 50-some-odd-year-old dad.
and he likes to sit behind my side because he gets a little more leg room over there.
He was already over there.
Yeah,
but
he was headed there.
Yeah, he's pretty good at stuff like that. But yeah, modeling being a husband and wife to your kids is essential. And I'll throw this out there real quick because this is important. If you're in a blended family, which is 46% of families today, if you're in a blended family, then that's most likely that one or both marriages previously have ended in divorce, and your kids have already seen one marriage fail. And so it is important that you model a healthy marriage for them to see, because they've already seen one marriage not work. And so it's really, really important that they see a marriage work and how to do marriage.
Yeah.
So whether you're a nuclear family or blended family, whatever it is important that your kids see you modeling marriage as a husband and wife, not just being mom and dad all the time.
Very, very important. Yes.
It is. I've had fun podcasting. This has been kind of cool.
It's fun.
We get a lot of feedback. We've had lots and lots of listeners. And if you're listening, we just want to say thank you for tuning in and listening every week. Some of them are a little bit more popular than others, just probably depending on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming up, we're going to do some family stuff. We still want to do some reader questions. People may not be as interested in those as I am, but I know when I'm looking through podcasts, when I'm driving down the road, when it has a podcast title called reader Q&A, I'm always like, yeah, let's see what kind of questions people are asking. And we're going to do one of those coming up here pretty soon. But we appreciate you listening, whether you're on Buzzsprout, iTunes, Google, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. If you're following along and subscribing, we appreciate it. If you're using a podcast feed that allows you to rate our podcast, we would love 5 stars, because all it does is help us. We don't get anything out of it. It just, when people type in marriage podcast, it'll help pull ours up a little more, because it has a higher rating. If you want to leave us a review, I know iTunes lets you do reviews, and we would appreciate that. But if you're driving and traveling and getting to catch up on podcasts, we are really, really honored that you take time to listen. We are just very, very thankful of that. I can't think. We've talked about Nebraska. We've talked about Lubbock, Texas. I guess we could
gonna be fun.
secret Lubbock, Texas. If you'll notice on our upcoming events, we have an event on our upcoming events page in Lubbock, Texas, and it's got a heart bite, and we're going to do something different that we have never done before, and it's going to kind of be
It's not a secret, but it's just kind of a special event, I guess.
stronger
we'll call it.
marriage date night.
Stronger marriage getaway. We have not agreed on what to call it, apparently.
Yes, I keep forgetting, but it's going to be cool. Come to Lubbock, Texas. We're going to stay in a hotel. We're going to have a room. It's going to be a little bit more intimate setting. We're only taking 50 couples. This is not going to be open to everybody. It'll be first 50 couples that get signed up. We're going to have little goodie sacks that'll include some really cool stuff in it. Pro-marriage stuff.
Yeah. We've got some fun giveaways.
Yes, I've talked to some folks with some silicone rings that we're going to give some gift certificates for those, some clothing, some date night gift box, some Frisky Friday, gift boxes and things along those lines. And so we're going to have a lot of fun. It'll be a Friday night, Saturday morning,
and
maybe till after lunch.
What's going to make this a little different than most of our workshops? We're hoping people will take advantage of staying there at the hotel and really making it a getaway. Now, we understand if you live there in Lubbock, you may not want to, spend the money for a hotel room. But
what a great chance for you to be husband and wife and not just mom and dad.
And we want to give some longer breaks in there throughout the workshop, so because we do give you things to discuss as a husband and wife. We call it homework. That's healthy for you to work through some of the material that we're talking about. And so we're going to give some longer breaks and some time for you to go grab a cup of coffee and some things like that. So it's not going to be your typical workshop that we usually do. It's just we've just added some
a little more intimate,
some different things in there. It'll be fun.
We're going to have a lot of fun. We've had fun today. Looking forward to it. We're going to get this uploaded so that you can listen to it. If you get a chance, let us know what you think. We would appreciate it. If you're liking the podcasts and if you have an idea for a upcoming podcast, let us know. But we're having fun. Y'all have a great week. Be blessed, and we will see you next week with Trey and Lee.
Bye, everyone.